How can we best actually reduce any potential impact from the placebo effect we might get using the current scales?
So minimizing placebo response is big, and it's multi-pronged. One, education. So minimizing placebo response training for your site staff as well as for your caregivers. So not all trials do it for caregivers, and I actually would in rare disease, because you're sometimes doing performance-based outcome measures like the Bailey, but you're often using measures like a CGI, for example, or the Vineland, or something where the caregiver is involved in it as the informant, and they need to understand what placebo response is and how they play a role in that. There's a couple of indications. Fragile X is one, but where placebo response is a big problem. I also sort of caution all sponsors when they go from a positive phase 2 trial into their phase 3. These rare disease communities are tight. These families talk to each other, they know the news, they know the literature, they get excited, and it puts you at risk for placebo response. So this placebo response training can be really important, sort of owning it, labeling it, everyone's aware of it, and coming up with outcomes that are objective as possible. And even when you're doing a CGI or a Vineland, really drilling down to examples. There's some very pragmatic things you can do with that, where, for example, the caregiver can write objective summary of how the patient's doing at baseline to reference at future visits. Like, they did this objectively. And some of this builds from a little bit from like goal attainment scaling, where you're really clear and really objective as to what's happening at baseline, and the caregivers are able to reference that over time to see if the change is objective.